Far in the future, on a bright spring morning, Izuku thinks back to the war. He remembers Operation Troy, the hero's big chance to even the fight against the villains. As he holds a cherry blossom petal, he recalls the climax of that battle, where the winds were raging fiercely. Back in the present, All Might continues his battle of endurance against the rewinding All for One. He races through city alleys, using tentacles and floppy suction pads to swing and grip the walls, making sharp turns to stay ahead. He knows that if he keeps dodging, All for One will eventually grow bored of simply attacking. All Might is badly hurt and tired, but he arms himself with Shoto and Tailman. He tells himself that if he wants to really hurt All for One and speed up his rewinding, then he'll have to use a risky move that requires huge energy. Looking to the sky, he calls on Anima, 2 robotic bird drones, to support his big plan. All for One suddenly appears in front of him, saying he already knows the plan won't work. He spreads his arms and sends out countless rivet-stabbed tendrils. All Might barely dodges and escapes. The villain grows massive plant-like heads from his tendrils to block All Might's path. Diving into the underground catacombs, All Might calls him a liar, but All for One insists these attacks barely drain his energy. The villain then slams All Might in his old injury, sending him crashing and coughing blood. Still, All Might retaliates by trapping him with Tentacle and blasting ice into his body with Shoto. Looking at the stormy sky, All Might tells All for One that even if his own light fades, another will take it up, shining brighter, and that he doesn't feel like he'll lose. Meanwhile, at the site where Operation Troy began, Kunieda has captured Fat Gum and the other heroes. His plants feed on their bodies, even stealing Fat Gum's lipids. Though heavily beaten, can't stop twinkling, Yuga Aoyama remembers the gift of his sparkle belt from his parents. Inspired by his classmates' light, he fires waves of unstable naval lasers. Kunieda mocks his poor aim, but then Invisible Girl, Toru Hagakure, reflects the lasers with her warp refraction, blasting Kunieda down. At the same time, the Anima drones power up a giant cannon. Hercules confirms the connection and fires a huge laser named Can't Stop Twinkling directly at All for One. The blast scorches him violently, while All Might sacrifices parts of his suit to dodge at the last moment. The laser overheats, but All Might demands it keep firing. To hold All for One in place, he uses sound waves from earphone jack and shields himself with a resin coating from Invisible Girl. The plan costs him dearly as he loses Tailman in both legs. Even then, All for One breaks free and smashes All Might away. The villain gloats that All Might has lost everything. But suddenly, his body freezes. From above, Stain arrives, licking All for One's blood to trigger Blood Curdle. All Might, smiling again, realizes he has backup as Stain cheers him on to finish the fight. Meanwhile, Invisible Girl restrains Kunieda, while Aoyama notices that Toru is becoming visible. Embarrassed, she hides, but realizes her quirk is glitching because Aoyama's naval laser awakened in the battle. Aoyama, however, is calm. He asks her to help him burn away Kunieda's roots so they can save the victims. Looking up at the stormy sky, he smiles and declares that today will be his last day as a UA student. A flashback of young Toshinori reminiscing about one of his fondest childhood memories. In a dreamlike setting of his home, a young Toshinori is seen enjoying a picture book of superhero and Panman, with his mother Toshi by his side. The scene acts as an homage to Takashi Yanasi's iconic creation, Anpanman, and also shows the core memory that instilled the spirit of heroism in Toshinori. Now that he has come a long way in life as the most celebrated hero to have ever existed, Toshinori reflects on his past and how his legacy has touched many through the years. From being inspired by superheroes in childhood to becoming one who inspires everyone, Toshinori's life has come full circle. The scene shifts to the present. Stain overheard the over-the-communication conversation between All Might and the duo, Tenya Ida and Todoroki, and knowing a powerless All Might is going to take on All for One on his own, he was motivated to help him. After all, Stain considers All Might the one true hero for his honorable, selfless approach, and he was not going to miss the chance to stand by his idol when he is at his most vulnerable. Reaching the battle zone where All Might and All for One were fighting with each other, Stain sampled All for One's blood, which allowed him to use his Blood Curdle quirk on him. However, All for One activates the Bloodlet quirk, which allows him to expel his own blood out of his body in an instant. By antigen swapping, he literally rewrites his own blood type. As it turns out, All For One had predicted that Stain would betray him when he left the group of villains after the assault in Tartarus. Free from his immobilized state, All For One delivers a brutal beatdown to Stain. All Might rushes in for his rescue, but there is nothing he can do except to witness Stain's final moments. Despite being known as a hero killer, Stain looked up to All Might throughout his life. And moments before his inevitable death, he thanked Toshinori for inspiring him. With a vicious death blow, All For One kills Stain and is revealed to have taken his quirk as well. All For One diverts his attention to his nemesis and launches a fierce energy attack at him, and the last remnants of Hercules' shield protect Toshinori, sacrificing themselves in the process. A gravely injured Toshinori sees visions of his mentor, Nana Shimura, his former sidekick, Night Eye, and his protege, Deku, which motivates him to keep on fighting even in his battered-up condition. All For One shifts his attention to the hovering UA coffin in the sky, which is in a much more stable condition ever since Toga's creation of Doubles clones ceased to exist. Right under the hovering structure, Shigaraki and Deku are engaged in battle, essentially a deadlock, as neither of them has been able to overpower the other. All For One wants to transfer all his quirks to Shigaraki, and now that All Might is being taken care of, All For One is in range to use his Mud Warp quirk to teleport Shigaraki to him to transfer his powers and take over his body. However, as he attempts to do that, Shigaraki refuses to leave his battle with Deku, prompting All For One to decide that he will go to the arena himself. All For One's cruel, brutal tactics to destroy the spirits of surviving heroes manifest in the form of dangling a broken All Might in the air as he moves towards Shigaraki in Deku's battle arena. The tragic sight of a helpless All Might being at All For One's mercy has the world rattled, as people across the globe watch in disbelief what they deem as the final moments of their greatest savior. Even in this state, All Might inspires himself by thinking of his protege, Deku's heroic spirit, and tries a last-ditch attempt to take down All For One by trying to detonate his arm gauntlets of the armor. Toshinori remembers Nana Shimura's final moments, who met his end at All For One's hand, and while drawing her last breath, she believed All Might would defeat him in the future. However, All Might's attempt fails miserably, as All For One neutralizes the explosion with ease and prepares to kill him. As his battle with Shigaraki goes on, Deku is horrified and distracted upon witnessing All Might's predicament. All For One uses Stain's blood curdle on All Might to paralyze him, and at present, All Might is utterly helpless. Along with Deku, the rest of the world watches in horror as once again all hope seems to be lost. All For One destabilizes UA's hovering construct and also takes down Star and Stripe's X-66 jets with ease, which were trying to protect All Might from him. Deku watches helplessly as All For One is about to kill a paralyzed All Might, and like a god-sent angel, Bakugo, of all people, wakes up with a fierce explosion. In the previous season, Shigaraki had seemingly killed Bakugo, but Edgeshot had saved him by healing his heart. In the final moments of the prologue scene, Toshinori's reflection on the past reaches its completion, which shows both Deku and Bakugo are carrying the legacy of One For All, inspired by the ideals of All Might. The immense pressure being released over the course of the final battle alters weather patterns across the globe, as a supercell storm causes a drastic drop in global temperature. A cold draft blows through every corner of the world, as if it carries the prayers of those who want All Might to survive and save them from the calamity that has befallen them. In a symbolic way, the cold wind carries the prayers to Bakugo, who is about to cook up a storm by taking the battle to All For One. Bakugo and Deku share a glance and immediately initiate their attempt to save All Might. Despite the first inheritor of One For All, Kudo's warning about overexerting himself, Deku uses Gear Shift to send Bakugo blitzing towards All For One to rescue All Might. Shigaraki taunts Deku. He knows that All Might is gradually manifesting in Deku's psyche, like all the rest of the late users of One For All, which means the greatest hero is on the verge of passing away. However, carrying all the dreams and hopes of the believers, Bakugo lands a destructive blow on All For One, severing one of his arms in the impact, and rescues All Might. From blaming himself for his idol's retirement to rescuing him at his lowest, Bakugo has come full circle. The world recognizes Bakugo as the hero who saved All Might. In his mind's eye, All Might sees his former sidekick, Night Eye, who once predicted a tragic, horrendous end for the hero in his final battle. However, this time, All Might's mental projection of Night Eye shares that his foresight was altered by the heroics of the likes of Deku and Bakugo, champions of the future whom All Might has inspired. All Might has to pass on the torch to the younger generation, but that no longer implies that he has to lay down his life to do so. A tiny remnant of Edgeshot appears from Bakugo's body. Using his own body, the pro hero has mended the grievous injury Bakugo sustained while tanking Shigaraki's direct blow to his heart. However, as Bakugo thanks the pro hero for saving his life, Edgeshot reveals that it was Bakugo's own willpower and his explosion quirk that kept him alive, while Edgeshot held his body together. In his present condition, even moving around is immensely painful for Bakugo, let alone defending All Might from All for One. However, in his usual devil-may-care attitude, Bakugo doesn't let odds guide his judgment and remains as fearless and jubilant as ever. Then a paralyzed All Might requests Bakugo to approach him and transfers his arm's nanotech gauntlet, the last remains of Hercules' armor, onto Bakugo's armor. A quirkless All Might has nothing at his disposal that he can offer Bakugo and hopes the gauntlet will act as a splint on his arm. This gesture is immensely important, as it conveys All Might formally passing on his legacy to Bakugo, trusting him to uphold the ideals of heroism he inspired, like he did with Deku all those years ago. At this stage of Bakugo's life, and given the context behind the action, this transfer arguably holds more significance than All Might transferring One for All to Deku. This gesture by his idol brings the most honest, innocent smile to Bakugo's face. Inspired by All Might's trust in him, Bakugo pushes through his pain to chase after All for One, who considers Bakugo to be a mere pebble not worthy of his consideration and tries to avoid engaging him. All for One knows that if the fight gets intense, he will have to use the rewind quirk to heal himself, which will de-age him more. All for One, who for so long thought everything was going according to plan, is frustrated at the fact that he feels himself no longer in control. Bakugo, whom he considered a pesky nuisance, catches up to him within an instant and delivers a fierce, explosive blow. Bakugo defiantly proclaims himself as the final boss All for One has to face, and he fully intends to fulfill the job previous wielders of One for All had set out to do, and that is to finish All for One for good. On the other hand, things seem to be under control at the other sites, and Deku prepares to launch Gear Shift for a final time to put his battle with Shigaraki to a decisive end. All for One tries to ignore Bakugo and rushes towards Shigaraki, as he needs to force his consciousness into his body to assume complete control, but he makes the mistake of undermining Bakugo, who relentlessly attacks and pursues him. Bakugo feels immense pain coursing through his body, but even at his breaking point, Bakugo grows more fierce and strong with every passing moment. Bakugo's parents, Mitsuki and Masaru, watch with a mix of fear, pride, and joy as their son defends the greatest savior of mankind by taking on his most fierce enemy with a smug smile on his face in a way to honor his idol. Things seem so bad for All for One that he starts confusing Bakugo with Kudo, the first inheritor of One for All, and relives one of his most tormenting memories when a dying Kudo had revealed to him about his younger brother, Yoichi's demise. Accepting the fact that he himself was responsible for Yoichi's death was a traumatic realization for All for One, from which he hasn't recovered, and it becomes clear that ghosts of his past are haunting him as the supervillain Overlord mistakes Bakugo for a reincarnation of Kudo. In a flashback, the narrative takes viewers back a century ago, when meta powers started manifesting for the first time. With the birth of the first registered human to have supernatural abilities, who was dubbed by the media as Glowing Baby, people with quirks, aka meta powers, emerged across the world. The meta powers emerged in humanity as a natural progression of evolution. An unnamed homeless woman with a bone protrusion quirk gives birth to two boys, Zen, who will later be known as the fiercest enemy of humankind, All for One, and Yoichi. Zen was born with the quirk of taking powers and abilities from others. Even while remaining in the womb of their mother, an unborn Zen took more nutrients to sustain himself, which left his young brother emaciated, frail, and weak. Their mother dies during childbirth, and the imagery of an infant Zen suckling on her blood is enough to give you an estimate of All for One's all-consuming tendencies. From a young age, Zen, who had to survive amidst the tumultuous conflict between non-powered humans and metas, grew up to be evil, killing anyone who even looked at him in the wrong way. His violence was not limited to non-powered humans, as he stole powers from other quirk users and killed them remorselessly as well. A first-rate megalomaniac with a god complex, Zen considered everything either to be revolving around him or beneath him. Zen's quirkless, younger twin brother, Yoichi, turns out to be the polar opposite of him, a kind, caring person who tried his best to stop Zen from going down the path of death and destruction to no avail. Yoichi felt Zen's wrath from an early age, who didn't like the fact that his only family, his brother, opposed his worldview. However, despite having deep disdain for Yoichi, Zen kept him by his side, considering him as his possession. Zen believed Yoichi was the first thing that belonged to him, and more than brotherly love, a sense of ownership prompted him to keep Yoichi by his side. Yoichi was greatly fascinated by superhero comics, as revealed in his own words. He could sense the hope that radiated in the writing of the authors as they delineated the heroic, noble actions of their characters. As a rare instance of listening to his brother, Zen decided to read the comics Yoichi loved as well, but he related more with Demon Lord, the prime villain of the comics, who ruled over everyone else through fear. Zen killed the first registered meta, glowing baby, among a bunch of other metas and humans, much to Yoichi's horror. As they grow up, Yoichi refuses to be associated with his brother any longer, given that he will not give up on his reign of terror. By now, a charismatic Zen has taken the name Demon Lord All for One, and he wants Yoichi to stay by his side as he rules over everyone. Zen believes that Yoichi's powerlessness has made him harbor useless, noble sentiments and emotions, and he forces the quirk of power stock on his younger brother. Unbeknownst to Zen, Yoichi had a latent quirk, although it was not as flashy as his brother's meta powers. Yoichi's quirk was power transfer, the exact opposite of Zen's original quirk, and combined with a stockpile quirk, it gave birth to the All for One quirk. Yoichi is rescued by Kudo, who is the chief of the resistance force against All for One's tyrannical reign, and tries to escape with him. All for One, who wanted to subjugate his brother throughout his life, is bewildered to see that Yoichi is abandoning him. All for One remorselessly kills Yoichi before he could escape, but a part of him lives on in the form of One for All, which gets transferred to Kudo. Yoichi, who regretted his brother's degradation till the end, considered One for All as the kindest power of all, which allowed users to share their power with those in need. All for One figured out that a part of his brother was still alive as a vestige in the One for All quirk and made it his life's goal to obtain it. To do that, All for One wiped out Kudo's entire bloodline and murdered all his successors who wielded the quirk, but on every single occasion, he was unable to obtain it, as the quirk rejected being a part of him. It's as if Yoichi's will made itself present through One for All's rejection of Zen's attempt to reunite with his brother. At present, as a younger All for One faces Bakugo in the final battle, he sees Kudo in Bakugo's appearance. The deadliest supervillain has started believing that Kudo's spirit is haunting him even after death. Despite knowing that if he pushes himself for longer, he can age at an impossible rate, All for One decides to go all out against Bakugo, propelling himself towards Bakugo by turning into a monstrous form. Meanwhile, All Might had mentioned to Bakugo about this fatal flaw of the rewind drug used by All for One, and Bakugo had accordingly prepared himself to launch his final strike. He unleashes howitzer impact and bursts of explosions that completely overwhelm a monstrous All for One. Maddened by his conceited worldview, All for One believed it was his story to set things up like he wanted, to get what he wanted. However, Bakugo shatters his misplaced belief by showing how it was a story of everyone who fought against his tyrannical oppression and everyone who helped Bakugo to grow as a person and serve justice by sacrificing the things they held dear. Overexerting himself and taking the severe impact of Bakugo's attack, All for One has turned into an infant and is still trying to find a way to go to Shigaraki to take control over his mind and body. An infant All for One attacks Bakugo, who defends himself successfully, and, spending his last agonizing moments with hate in his mind, an infant All for One is wiped out of existence after the last remnants of his powers are used up. Hawks' vestige gets a moment to taunt All for One before his death. Ironically, it took a single quirk to defeat the overlord of all quirks. Imitating his idol All Might, a battered-up Bakugo tries to strike a pose with his hand and head held high, but falls to the ground in exhaustion. He has taken down primal evil, and it is now up to Deku to take care of Shigaraki and put an end to all of this. In a flashback, during a strategy meeting aimed to neutralize Shigaraki, Best Jeanist advises fellow heroes to keep Shigaraki hovering at UA Academy at any cost. Letting him touch the ground will result in his decay quirk causing massive destruction. Genist adds that saving lives during the battle is their top priority, which will be jeopardized if Shigaraki gets to use his quirk on solid ground. Genist rightly deduces that in the midst of the struggle between All for One and Shigaraki to take control over his body, All for One is a better option for heroes, as his villainous motive is conventional, whereas Shigaraki is extremely unpredictable, chaotic, and impulsive, which makes him comparatively a fiercer threat. Back to the present, Shigaraki has wreaked havoc across the city, drowning an evacuated Shizuoka prefecture as he plans to decimate everything in his path. Right at the moment, Shigaraki senses his mentor, All for One, has met his end, which completely frees him from his control and turns him even more unhinged. Deku's attacks and counters prove ineffective, as Shigaraki instantly regenerates himself. All 8 vestiges of One for All discuss a possible strategy to help Deku in his fight when something unexpected happens. Shigaraki literally breaches inside the physical space to abduct the 4th One for All user, Danger Sense quirk vestige Hikage Shinomori, robbing Deku of his heightened reflex. Whereas Shigaraki is now able to dodge all of Deku's attacks thanks to the stolen quirk. As Deku struggles to match up to Shigaraki, the vestiges consult with him to discuss plans, and Shigaraki can apparently see his vestiges. The 6th vestige of One for All, Entayutai, rightly mentions that without Shinomori by their side, they are running the risk of losing multiple vestiges if Shigaraki reaches out once again. Things escalate when Shigaraki lands near Mount Fuji, as he plans to use his decay quirk to awaken the latent volcano and create a global catastrophe to obliterate everything. Shigaraki is operating as an avatar of destruction, keen on setting the world on fire to relish in its misery. Deku's brand of justice has always veered towards the traditional, idealistic notion of heroism, which has empathy at its core. He still believes that Shigaraki has some remnants of his humanity intact in his core, as he delivers a solid Delaware smash by combining 2 vestige quirks, Black Whip and Fa Jin, to lift Shigaraki off the ground. Deku is deftly using combinations of Smokescreen, Gear Shift, Black Whip, and Fajin to catch Shigaraki off guard and deal some heavy damage, even though Shigaraki regenerates instantly. What's stopping Deku from going all out on Shigaraki is a similar crisis he faced in his past battles with him as well. Deku is not willing to give up on Shigaraki and wants to save him. Literally, the vestige of Nana Shimura, Shigaraki's own grandmother, asks Deku to end him for good, mentioning he is beyond saving at this point, but a stubborn Deku isn't willing to adhere to her words. Strangely enough, Kudo, who was extremely annoyed at Deku's idealistic perspective, now shares his sentiments as well. Kudo suggests a crazy gamble and asks Deku to give up One for All to Shigaraki. He has rightly sensed that the effects of the late Star and Stripes battle still linger in his black mass of a heart, which has compounded all his quirks. During their battle in the previous season, Shigaraki absorbed Star's New Order quirk, remaining unaware of its hidden ability to turn every quirk inherited by the new host against each other, creating an internal conflict. Aside from the surface interpretation, it can also indicate that, as Shigaraki never fought All Might, his fight with Star gave him his first taste of squaring off with a truly noble, honorable hero, and affected his twisted, darkened heart filled with negative energy. Kudo plans to exploit the weakness of Shigaraki from within and asks Deku to transfer him to his adversary. Bruce and En try to reason with Kudo, as the risk of his plan not working is high, but despite that, Kudo is willing to give it a shot, as he is inspired by Deku's indomitable spirit. Nana Shimura can relate to what Deku is going through. She knows what it means for the quirkless kid to inherit One for All from All Might, his most beloved, respected hero. Giving it up, even as a battle strategy, will take a part of Deku. Deku prepares to do the needful and transfer the quirk to Shigaraki. With a menacing aura emanating from him, Deku then transforms into a fearsome form, combining all his remaining quirks. Shigaraki tries to attack Deku, but Deku deflects his attack, chopping off his hand. Shigaraki comments on Deku's new appearance, noting that he doesn't look like a hero anymore. Deku's exceptional ability to adapt during a fight and combine his quirks has improved. Deku forces his battered, bruised body to continue the fight by using Black Whip to move, and plans to infuse his own blood with Shigaraki's by injuring him to transfer the rest of the vestiges of One for All. The process is easier said than done, as Shigaraki's fast regeneration gives little to no time between inflicting an injury and completing the transfer. Shigaraki knows Deku is planning something, and in order to fluster Deku into going on the defensive, he once again tries to use decay on the ground. Deku is already prepared for this, as he uses Black Whip to create distance between Shigaraki and the ground beneath. Deku's expert use of his multiple quirks is shown in the way he uses Smokescreen and his blood to lure Shigaraki and catch him off guard against his attack. Tamura's reactive evolution. Hordes of mutated hands try to guard him as an involuntary reaction to stop Deku from forcing One for All into his system. That isn't enough to stop Deku from landing a punch, which transfers Kudo's vestige to Shigaraki. Deku is perplexed to see his memories getting entangled with those of Shigaraki's, which indicates Kudo's plan has worked. Deku is gradually making his way through the recesses of Shigaraki's mind. Yuchi realizes that for every One for All user, his late elder brother, All for One, murdered, he had knowingly unified their vestiges for a singular purpose of ending his legacy. Deku continues his attack and manages to transfer Entayutai and others, but Shigaraki resists the complete transfer of the vestiges. Except for All Might's mentor, Nana Shimura, Deku is able to transfer the rest of the vestiges into Shigaraki by relentlessly attacking him. Yue's hovering platform lands on the ground, and the rescue operation begins, while the world remains fixated on watching the terrifying final conflict between Deku and Shigaraki. Eri is anxiously watching Deku, giving it his all during the fight, and she desperately wants to help him. Ectoplasm and Kota comfort the kid. There is little that they can do now except to believe in Deku. Momo brings a rattled Kaminari to safety, who shares his belief in Deku, but mentions with great concern that he can't feel the same confidence he used to feel when All Might fought against his enemies. Despite proving his mettle time and time again, Deku still needs time to inspire faith among people through his actions. The reason Nana Shimura's vestige is blocked by Shigaraki is rooted in his most personal, agonizing memories involving his grandmother. Then Deku breaks through the strongly guarded childhood memories Shigaraki never wished the world to see. There are defenses in place to protect this private world of Shigaraki, beginning with a dark version of Deku formed from his perspective of his rival. A memory remnant of Stain also appears to stop Deku in his tracks to keep him from exposing Shigaraki's memories. And as it transforms to Redestro and Shisaki, the assimilation of Deku and Shigaraki's psyches becomes apparent. Nana Shimura's vestige accompanies Deku in his journey to Shigaraki's subconscious, and she warns Deku that there is no telling of what would happen as he will find the most vulnerable version of Shigaraki in this domain. As Deku enters Shigaraki's childhood home, he and Shimura are shocked to see an old photo of the mentor of All Might, along with her son Kotaro. Shimura never wanted Kotaro to be in danger due to her vocation as a hero, and accordingly, she had distanced herself from her family, creating a lifelong estrangement between mother and son. Kotaro didn't want his children, Tenko, Shigaraki, and Hana to associate with hero business. Hana, who took pride in being the granddaughter of Nana Shimura, motivated Tenko to adhere to her legacy by secretly using their powers. Then Izuku watches young Shigaraki getting hit by his father Kotaro, which Nana Shimura couldn't bear to watch, as the young Tenko is slapped by his father Kotaro for aspiring to become a hero. Since a young age, Kotaro grew a sense of hatred towards heroes while trying to cope with his mother's abandonment. He couldn't bear the thought of his own son, Tenko, being inspired by his grandma's heroics and getting motivated to become a hero. Kotaro's hatred for his mother translated to his abusive actions towards his son, which did a number on the kid's mind. Nana's vestige is overwhelmed by regret and guilt upon realizing that she has failed her family, and she is finally able to break through Shigaraki's emotional blockage to heal him from within while apologizing for her act of abandonment. With this, the entirety of One for All is transferred to Shigaraki, and the final piece of the puzzle, his most traumatic core memory, is unlocked. Some wounds are too deep to heal, and young Shigaraki's core memory, which altered the kid's worldview and triggered extreme self-hatred and destroyed any semblance of positivity in him, is such a ghastly mental wound. The first time Shigaraki manifested his decay quirk, he accidentally killed his family dog, Mon. Even before the terrified kid is able to make sense of what happened or grasp the harrowing nature of his quirk, he ends up accidentally causing the death of his entire family, which includes his sister Hana, their father Kotaro, their mother, and also Tenko's paternal grandfather. As Deku tries to help a young Tenko by encroaching in his most shameful, traumatic memory, the surge of Shigaraki's negative emotions make him realize that from a young age, poor Tenko had convinced himself that the death of his family members was not an unfortunate accident. It was a deliberate, conscious choice made by him to show what a monster he truly is. The world too saw a monster and a broken child who needed guidance and a helping hand, which now Deku is trying to provide, holding on to the belief that Shigaraki can still be reformed. Finally, Deku's positivity and hope shine bright and take over Tenko's negative emotions as he truly heals his most painful psychic wound. However, it takes a hefty toll as Deku's sacrificial action of holding on to Shigaraki's hand, despite knowing the nature of the decay quirk, costs him his hands, both in psychic space and in the real world. However, there is a remnant of negativity still lingering in Shigaraki's mind, and his childhood dreams of becoming a hero has translated into his desire to become a hero for all the villainous figures, for all the hopeless, desperate people who have given up on the world and just want the world to end in one fell swoop. The broken, hurting people see Shigaraki as their twisted hero, who will bring salvation to a world that is beyond redemption. However, this emotion within him allows him to get rid of his burdens instead of holding on to them, and Shigaraki's mental shackles are broken, which is conveyed in the way the hand constructs built around him as a shield disappear in the real world. Then suddenly, Shigaraku witnesses certain memories in his mind's eye that are not of his own. He sees his father, Kotaro, who doesn't seem as angry, bitter, and hateful as he remembers him to be, meeting with an unknown person who shows him kindness and tries to learn about his family details. This unknown presence is none other than All For One, who has been on the lookout to find a perfect vessel to fulfill his ultimate goal of taking One For All, the final aspect of his brother Yoichi. Through all his encounters with the former wielders of One For One realized that unless he is able to overcome the willpower of the users, he will never be able to take the quirk for himself. Even though All For One's corporeal self ceased to exist after being beaten by Bakugo, his vestige still lived within Shigaraki, who finally got the chance to take over his vessel at the right moment when Deku was able to break through Shigaraki's emotional blockage. All For One proudly reveals that he kept his so-called protege, Shigaraki, under the illusion that he actually had free will in order to strengthen his own willpower, whereas All For One has been pulling the strings for a long time to alter the course of his life. He planted the idea of having a second child in Kotaro's mind, which led to the birth of Tenko, stole newborn Tenko's original repulsion quirk, which he inherited from his grandma, Nana Shimura, and used his powers to aggravate Kotaro's suppressed estranged emotions towards Nana to turn him into a toxic, abusive father. It was All For One who instilled the willingness to become a hero in young Tenko by manipulating events and gave the decay quirk to him in the first place, which ruined his life forever. Shigaraki was a pawn in All For One's game all along, whose ide was suppressed by All For One even before he could realize it and turned into a conduit of all the negative emotions, which gravitated him further to All For One. The realization that none of his choices were his own to begin with shatters Shigaraki's resolve, and All For One takes over his mind and body. There is a faint echo of whatever remains of Shigaraki within his body, which has been completely taken over by All For One. However, All For One can no longer sense Shigaraki or Yoichi within himself, despite the transfer of One For All being completed, which seemingly renders his long-time planning ineffective in the end, as he decides to project his anger by resuming his quest for world domination. In front of him stands a battered and bruised Deku, who has lost both his hands and doesn't seem to possess any strength to put up any form of challenge.
Just when All For One was about to decimate Deku and proceed with his world domination plan, help arrives in the most unexpected way. Deku is surprised to see his friends from 1A, Sero, Ojiro, and Sato arrive at the scene seemingly out of nowhere and push All For One back. Deku is shocked further as he sees Aizawa arrive with the help of Kurogiri's warp gate access, along with a number of UA Academy students to help Deku in his final battle against All For One. Aizawa and Yamada were able to use Kurogiri, who is an advanced form of Nomu created by All For One, by using the corpse of their old friend, Shirakumo, to transport to different locations to gather all the available heroes of UA. As it turns out, an aspect of Shirakumo was still alive in All For One's thrall, Kurogiri, which has come to life, either triggered by the emotional connection he used to share with his classmates, or Kurogiri's objective to protect Shigaraki. As it turns out, Eri has broken her only remaining horn with ectoplasm's help, and despite the risk of her rewind quirk malfunctioning, she has given it to Aizawa to help Deku in any way possible. Not only Eri, but also Deku's heroics have inspired heroes and commoners alike to contribute in any way they can, conveying he is gradually becoming the symbol of peace and hope his idol All Might is. Deku's hands are restored temporarily as Aizawa uses Eri's horn. With his friends and teachers from UA by his side, Deku is not alone in this decisive battle.
As inspired by Deku's heroism, the young generation of UA heroes pour in to make the last stand against All for One. When none of All for One's allies are with him, the heroes unite to shield Deku and take the battle to All for One. Todoroki and his father Endeavor have also joined the fight, as Kurogiri's warp gate transports them into the battle zone. Aizawa is surprised to learn that Deku gave up One for All during his battle against Shigaraki, but Deku assures him that just like it happened with All Might in his final battle against All for One, remnants of the legendary quirk are still within Deku. Cue the dying ember in the snowstorm imagery. Deku can still use One for All, which is the only way of taking down All for One for good. On the other hand, All for One feels empty, as his sole motivation for acquiring One for All to connect with the vestige of his brother, Yoichi, has failed. Earlier, his schemes had a specific purpose and direction, which was lost the moment he realized he would not be able to reunite with his brother. All for One is just an aimless monstrosity now, who wants to annihilate everything in his path, and once again making the mistake of underestimating the young heroes, he launches a vicious attack. A battered-up Deku limps his way to the battle and is overwhelmed upon realizing everyone has put so much trust in him. Not only heroes, but even commoners have tried to help Deku in any way they can, as Aizawa brings clothes and medication that people have offered Deku as a gesture to help their hero. Deku can almost hear the collective cry of the people across the globe who are trying to cheer him up and carry on the battle. Aoyama, whom Deku once helped when everyone turned their backs, helps Deku to get back on his feet and spring back into action. All the present 1A students of UA High, Momo, Tenya, Kirishima, Tsuyu, Kaminari, Hagakure, Tokoyami, and even Mineta show an inspiring example of teamwork to tank all for One's attacks to protect Deku and give him a chance to charge up an attack powerful enough to take down the supervillain. Their supreme act of sacrifice is witnessed by the world, proud parents of the young heroes who watch their children giving their everything in the good fight, a spectacle that will inspire generations to come. All for One finally realizes the truth that Deku is not like All Might, a symbol of hope, or an all-powerful, dependable savior, but instead is a vulnerable hero who sees good in everyone and never gives up, allowing others to relate to him and get inspired to action. The world reverberates in unison as everyone chants, "Do your best to uplift Deku's spirit." A heavily injured Uravity is moved to tears seeing how her Deku has been able to inspire everyone in the decisive battle. All Might recalls the day he met Deku for the first time. He proudly mentions that back then, the quirkless kid's bravery and heroism inspired him as well. Right at this moment, Deku feels like All Might while hearing the inspiring chants as One for All courses through his veins, and he lands a super-powered punch on All for One. All for One realizes his folly of underestimating the unity of the heroes and underestimating the past 9 vestiges who have affected Shigaraki's body and spirit to weaken All for One's vessel from within. Deku's punch nearly disintegrates All for One, but the Demon Lord makes a ferocious, last-ditch attempt to thwart the heroes. All for One desperately tries to make one of the heroes his new vessel to cling to his power and continue his maddening pursuit of world domination. Right at the moment, Shirakumo's consciousness awakens in Kurogiri, who was alive for the sole purpose of protecting Shigaraki. Yamada and Aizawa are moved seeing their old friend making a return for the final time to help Deku to land another attack on All for One, and even Bakugo lends a helping hand by charging Deku's attack through his explosive propulsion. While landing a finishing blow on All for One, Deku reveals he knows All for One is not just a power-hungry, fearsome, heartless villain. Despite the viciousness of All for One's actions, Deku recognizes him as a lonely man who wanted to reconnect with his brother, Yoichi, the only person who believed in his capacity for goodness. All for One's twisted worldview, narcissism, and selfishness prompted him to attempt a reconnection in a horrid way, but still, his motivation came from quite a personal space, from the love he had for his little brother, whom he wanted to keep with him forever. In his psychic space, we see All For One in his most emotionally vulnerable self when he realizes Deku has ensured that Yoichi's vestige remains alive in Shigaraki's body for long enough to let his elder brother reunite with him, even if it is for the briefest moment. All For One lets go of all his fearsome antics and world-dominating motivations the moment he sees the glowing orb-like vestige of Yoichi speaking with him and becomes desperate to look at his brother's face for the last time. However, it's too late for All For One to make amends, as the rest of the One For All vestiges lunge towards him just as Deku delivers the finishing blow. Karma has caught up with the fiercest supervillain, but for what it's worth, he gets to say to his brother, Yuchi, how much he loves him, for the first and last time in his life. No resurrections, no revival this time around, as All For One is truly finished with Deku's final blow. Kurogiri Shanosha's Shirakumo disintegrates, knowing that for the final time, Shigaraki has appeared in the psychic space from where All For One is gone forever. Shigaraki, now seemingly at peace, thanks Deku for holding on to hope, even for him who never really had any control over any of his actions and got puppeteered by All For One throughout his life. Deku reveals he wanted to stop Shigaraki in his self-destructive journey. Before disintegrating out of existence, Shigaraki asked Deku to relay his message to his most trusted ally, Spinner, that he fought to destroy society till the end. Bidding farewell to Kurogiri and the fading vestige of his grandma, Nana Shimura, Shigaraki disappears forever. The sun shines bright as Deku's blow is seen to have obliterated All For One and his quirk out of existence. Deku's raised fist unknowingly mimics All Might's iconic pose, instilling courage and hope in everyone watching in amazement at their victorious champion. US-based weathercaster Meryl Hope, who famously raised her voice against her country's initial stance to side with All For One. Following the final battle, All For One's threat has ceased to exist, and Meryl's forecast of changing weather carries a significant message about a brighter future ahead. The world has joined hands in helping Japan rebuild itself after the disastrous battle, and thanks to assistance by heroes around the globe, within 1 week, the battle-torn provinces have regained their past glory. The scene then shifts to Bakugo, who is still in recovery after surviving a near-death experience. It's thanks to his sheer will that he was able to not just end All For One's corporeal form, but also play a critical role in ending his vestige as well. Bakugo learns that the severe injuries he has sustained have made it nearly impossible for him to use his explosion quirk for now, as his hand is in rough shape. But an even worse fate is that of Deku, who has lost One For All forever after transferring the legendary quirk to Shigaraki. Deku once again became quirkless. However, Bakugo is shaken and extremely disheartened after learning about Deku's predicament. Deku's rise as the 9th user of One For All prompted Bakugo to push himself further and grow both as a hero and a person. Even though Deku mentions that, like All Might, he too can feel the embers of One For All still alive within him, the realization that he cannot compete on the same level as him hits Bakugo like an emotional train wreck. Midoriya is surprised to see Bakugo all teary-eyed, and All Might tries to reassure both of them that irrespective of their present predicament, both of them have earned the mantle of the greatest heroes of this generation. Even in his bedridden state, All Might is able to put a smile on the face of his two biggest admirers, who will shoulder the responsibility of guiding the new generation towards a better future. Students of UA High played a pivotal role in taking down All For One, Shigaraki, and the League of Villains, and in the process had to go through a hellish experience. Principal Nezu used his influence to convince global powers to assist Japan in rebuilding the nation, and at present, to ensure the spirits of the young champions get uplifted once again, has thrown a late graduation ceremony. The senior batch of UA, which includes heroes like Mirio Tagada, aka Lemillion, Nijiri, and Tamaki, celebrate their hearts out in the farewell ceremony while reminding their friends of the hardships they had to endure in the recent past. 1A students are now in the senior batch. Much to their delight, Azawa is still their homeroom teacher. The young guns couldn't have received better news on their first day as senior students. Unfortunately, Aoyama is going to leave UA High to repent for his past betrayal, even though his friends have forgiven him and are grateful for his assistance in the final battle. After school, Shoto Todoroki joins his family as they go to visit Toya, who is barely hanging on to his dear life in an advanced life support system. The fight in Gunga Mountain, where Toya faced off against his own family in a tragic attempt to get even with his father, endeavor took a severe toll on him, as Toya's entire body was severely burned. It is not stated whether recovery is even possible for him, given how horribly disfigured he has become after nearly destroying himself in Blue Flame. However, the emotional scars caused by unresolved trauma of paternal neglect and abuse are much more grave in nature. Before the momentous battle, Toya only showed fierce resentment and hatred towards Endeavor. But after his family stopped him from going down a very literal self-destructive course, his inner will for reconciliation with his family flashed in his mind's eye, albeit briefly. Endeavor knows how badly he has failed his family, most of all Toya, and he is prepared to make amends by any means possible. He knows he doesn't deserve forgiveness, but acknowledging his past mistake, for the first time, he is willing to put in the effort to help his son. Toya maintains his cynicism, but his barrier of emotions starts cracking the moment his siblings and father try to connect with him, mentioning that they want to give their relationship a second chance to start things anew. Shota, being the youngest of the family, sympathizes with Toya as he too experienced a similarly rough childhood, and before leaving, asks his big brother what his favorite food is in an attempt to reconcile with him. While being taken away, Toya opens up to his brother and answers, without a shred of pretense or anger in his voice. This is the first step on what is going to be a long road for Toya to connect with the Todoroki family. The former villainous couple, Gentle and La Brava, were acquitted of their crimes in light of recent events, as they aided the heroes in a major way during the final war. For the same reason, Hawks, who is currently working in the Hero Public Safety Commission, has agreed to release Lady Nagant from captivity. However, the reformed supervillain wants to atone for her crimes and feels that she needs to remain in prison for the time being, so that she doesn't get exploited by another criminal mastermind like All for One. The scene then shifts to excerpts from public interviews, debates, and media discussions to provide a rough sketch of the late supervillain, Tamura Shigaraki. The teenage villain is seen as some sort of disruptive force whose emergence ruined lives and destabilized the existing balance forever. People's perception of Shigaraki is shaped by fear, hate, and disdain, the stark opposite of what villains like Spinner, who idolized the second host of All for One, felt towards him. Deku meets with an imprisoned Spinner, the leader of the heteromorph movement and close confidant of Shigaraki. Spinner's unstable, monstrous, mutated, quirk-loaded state has finally reverted to normalcy since his incarceration. Spinner's rebellion against heteromorph-hating bigots had found strength in Shigaraki's belief in him. Needless to say that more than loyalty or friendship, what truly motivated Spinner to join hands with Shigaraki is his firm belief in his anti-heroism and iconoclastic ideals. As Deku relays Shigaraki's final message to Spinner, the honorable heteromorph leader is overwhelmed by strong emotions and grows into a monstrous form. Spinner nearly attacks Deku while recalling who Shigaraki was as a person and as a friend, and laments not being able to save him at the end. In a twisted sense, Shigaraki was a symbol of hope for Spinner and everyone else wronged by the world. Deku consoles Spinner by mentioning that Shigaraki was loyal to his cause and people till his last breath. As Deku takes leave, Spinner mentions he will write a book on Shigaraki, the fear he invoked in a world where heroes couldn't uphold the ideals of equality. Deku suggests Spinner make his chronicle a comic, and the statement acts as a meta-commentary on the relevance and impact of the medium. Spinner's last message to Deku is to send his regards to Shoji, a heteromorph who channeled his rebellion in a much more positive light. On the other hand, an imprisoned overhaul, aka Kaichisaki, is visited by his former boss, Shi Hasekai, who reprimands him for failing Eri and for all the heinous actions he committed in the past. It seems during his time in prison, Chisaki grew a conscience, as he seems troubled upon recognizing the gravity of his actions. At UA High, freshman year students are fanboying over now upperclassmen heroes, Bakugo, Shoto Todoroki, and Midoriya, future legends who inspired future generations through their actions in the final war. While receiving adulations from junior students, Midoriya can't help but feel a sense of loss and pain. His interaction with Spinner made him realize that they couldn't do justice to everyone despite their best efforts. Later on, a memorable scene follows as 2A and 1A join hands for a restoration drill in a neighborhood, and locals share their food with them as a gesture of gratitude. The scene then shifts to Uraraka, who seems a bit distracted even while being surrounded by her friends. Unbeknownst to everyone, Uraraka is still scarred by the passing of Himiko Toga, whose act of self-sacrifice ensured Uraraka's survival. Himiko was moved by Uraraka's compassion and in her final moment chose to use her blood transfusion quirk to save her life by sacrificing her own. Spending most of the time keeping a fake smile on her face, Uraraka excuses herself from her friends at night and mourns alone near the hilltop. Ridden by survivor's guilt, Ochako blames herself for not being able to save Himiko when Midoriya eventually finds her. Deku assures Uraraka by affirming his faith in her, mentioning how kind and compassionate she has been from the beginning. Midoriya is also able to relate to Uraraka's plight, as he too feels that he could have saved Shigaraki. Soon they are joined by the rest of their friends from 2A, who comfort Uraraka and help her to process the grief of Himiko's tragic demise. In the meantime, the news of Deku losing One for All becomes known by everyone, and now it is almost confirmed that it's a matter of time till the embers of the legendary quirk leave Deku as well. After their happy ending, 2A students organize Aoyama's farewell party. A tormented kid who was seen coming out of a dilapidated house in the closing moments of the last episode. As it turns out, the poor kid has a quirk that his family considered dangerous, an insult to the family's prestige. The family patriarch ordered to have the kid locked up forever, with his mouth sewn shut. Inheriting a unique quirk was a natural ordeal. The kid shouldn't have been blamed for it, but tragically enough, even his own family didn't hesitate to subject him to abuse and loneliness from a young age. After Final Wars, the house where the kid was held captive was destroyed, and the kid made his way outside for the first time. Alone and scared, the kid can't make sense of why people all around him are in such a jubilant mood, as his broken, tormented mind wants to project the pain it has experienced to the world, which didn't protect him when he needed it most. At this point, an old lady holds the kid's hand. Seeing him troubled, she wants to help him by providing an assuring presence. It is shown in the flashback scene that the old lady previously crossed oaths with a young Shigaraki as well, who, similar to this kid, was in dire need of help, of a comforting presence. The old lady didn't attend Shigaraki back then, and at present, she wonders what could have happened as Deku's inspiring example in the Final Wars flashes in her mind. She will not make the same mistake ever again as she did with Shigaraki, and holding the kid's hand, the lady assures him that she will be by his side no matter what. Experiencing kindness for the first time, that too from a stranger, vanishes all the negative thoughts hovering in the kid's mind, and his eyes well up with tears. Parallel to this sequence, Hawks shares his opinion with All Might about introducing heroic figures into the hero merit list, common individuals who play key roles in upholding justice in numerous ways, without whom the heroes will not be able to protect the world the way they do. Inspired by Deku and his friends' heroics in Final Wars, Hawks has realized that every little action counts to make way for a better future. In that context, the old lady who helped the poor kid and changed the course of his life for the better is a heroic figure indeed. Deku's monologue about sustaining equality in a diverse world, showing empathy to those less fortunate, and working together to achieve greatness perfectly captures the essence of this entire segment. Later on, Deku and his friends from UA High graduate together, get their hero license, and follow their own paths. 8 years later, Midoriya has been working as a teacher at UA High, and his job is to help new students find their place in the school. Deku has lost One for All forever, as the final remnants, the embers, have left him, and once again, he is quirkless. Even though he misses the thrill of the battle, Deku has found his fulfillment in guiding the young generation to recognize their talents and find their own path. Chronicling his own experience, having worked with legends and heroes to overcome great adversity, Deku now tries to motivate others through his writing. Todoroki and Bakugo are working as pro-heroes and are the most loved ones among the fans. Uraraka is working as a counselor to guide young heroes on how to better use their quirks. Momo has established herself as a renowned researcher, and Shoji and Koda are working together to strive for equality for heteromorphs and people with unique quirks and appearances. Shinso and Tokoyami are operating as watchful vigilantes, even though the crime rate has dropped quite a bit already. Ida has been helping his brother to run his organization. Everyone has found their calling, and their life at UA High has taught them to recognize their individuality. Deku stumbles across a young kid, Dai, as both of them try to catch another kid from falling. Dai has grown up looking up to heroes like Deku, Endeavor, All Might, and Bakugo, and he now wants to enroll in UA High to become a hero himself. However, Dai's quirk is quite unconventional, and he is not sure that if he can ever become a pro-hero, now that only the strongest ones get the chance to become one, ever since crime rates have plummeted. To ease his mind, Dai comes to visit an effigy of All Might, where he crosses paths with Deku, one of his idols. Deku sees a reflection of himself in the kid, and at once is reminded of how All Might entrusted him with One for All, after witnessing how a quirkless Deku selflessly jumped into action all those years ago. This time, a now quirkless Deku upholds the legacy of the heroism that inspired him throughout his life by sharing words of encouragement with Dai. In the final moments of the show, All Might meets Deku to hand him an advanced tech suit he has made, similar to his own Hercules suit, which he used in the final wars against All for One. He knows his protege wants to be a part of active field duty, no matter how much he keeps himself busy in his teaching responsibilities. After a moment's hesitation, Deku takes the armored suit from his mentor, and in no time, he is seen joining his friends as they go on a rescue mission. For a brief moment, Deku sees a vestige of Shigaraki, almost as if he is acknowledging Deku. The story ends for us, but for Deku and his friends, it's another beginning of a journey where they will become the legends they were always meant to be. And that's the end of My Hero Academia. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.